While the Braves offense deserves to be busted on, I mean, just absolutely crapped on for as we could do 40 minutes of crapping on the Braves offense because they deserve it. It has been hideous to watch. It's been heinous to watch. It's been bad at bats. It's been it almost. I understand why people are saying it looks like they're not trying because frankly, it's like how do you swing? And they are missing balls in the zone by 3 feet. You're just like, what in the hell am I watching? But I'm done. I'm done. We're going to talk about Spencer Schwellenbach. We're going to talk about the guy who made his second MLB start at Fenway Park. I thought maybe the juices flowing would play in his advantage. Unfortunately, it didn't. He got lit up, 6 runs, 4 1/3 innings. Had basically 2 innings where it got away from him. The second inning, they jumped on him. He settled back down. Then the 5th inning, maybe he shouldn't have been out there. I say you probably send him back out there, see if he can give you 5 and move on. Listen, Schwellenbach probably not ready for the major leagues at this point. I think that was always kind of a concern when a guy is skipping over AAA. I think we saw a lot of good stuff. I think we saw some positive moments, really athletic off the mound, really good stuff. But at the end of the day, he's a young guy that hasn't pitched AAA baseball. Probably not ready. I think that's really what we got out of this. I don't think there's, it's kind of like you shake your hands with it, send him back down to AAA, let him work on his stuff. Maybe you give him another start if you really, really like his poise and his mental makeup, which they clearly do since they let him skip over AAA and you don't really have any options. But overall, I think you saw some good. You saw him not being quite ready, need some more seasoning in the minors, and I think it's just like no harm, no foul, letting him perform at the major for a couple starts.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a learning curve when you make that. Well, obviously, there's a learning curve from AAA to the major leagues, and that's exacerbated when you just skip AAA entirely. And I think you kind of saw the differences, where you could sometimes get away with pitches in AA Mississippi, whereas that's not going to fly. I mean, that Rafael Devers home run was a fine pitch. And it just so happens Rafael Devers is an absolute stud. Can't throw
and Fenway Park.
It was a home run in like 2 stadiums, I think.
350-foot home.
Right. So, there were a couple of moments where I was like, you kind of just shrugged that off for a young starter against obviously Rafael Devers and just other situations. And I think he's got a nice 5-pitch mix, which certainly plays at this level. 3 of those pitches seemingly, project as could be elite pitches for him. I think he's more than fine. I think that if the Braves did decide to roll him out there for his next start, I would be perfectly fine. In fact, I would encourage it. And maybe it has more to do with circumstances than Spencer Schwellenbach himself. AAA, there isn't a guy banging on the door who's demanding a start in Atlanta in Gwinnett. So I would not be against him getting another start whatsoever. You're going to be learning each time out. And when you're surrounded by guys like Max Fried, Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez, Charlie Morton, and this other, plenty of guys in the bullpen, you're obviously going to soak up a lot of knowledge. And I think, after an outing like that, where, you did throw some good pitches, you did throw some bad pitches, and they took advantage of it, it's time to go back to the notebook, look at it, ask your guys, what can you do? And I think, if Snitker and this staff decided to trot him out, I'd have no problem with that. In fact, maybe I'd encourage it because there's nobody in AAA who, is overwhelmingly deserving of that start. In fact, the guy who is, you wrote about it, Hurston Waldrep might be the guy who deserves it more than anybody in AAA.
Yeah, I mean, Hurston Waldrop's obviously the guy that everybody's going to think about when you're thinking about that next guy in line. And if you're talking from a pure stuff perspective, it's obviously him. There's no doubt Hurston Waldrop is deserving of that opportunity. Now, Spencer Schwellenbach's thing, it can kind of be looked at 2 ways. Like on the one hand, it's like he's probably not deserving. Hurston Waldrop, he deserves to have that spot over Spencer Schwellenbach. On the other hand, you kind of saw what happens when you throw a guy out there that doesn't have a lot of experience. In Schwellenbach's case, no experience at AAA. In Waldrop's case, he's had his 1 start this year at AAA, 1 start last year that only went 4 innings. So, I mean, what, a total of 10 innings at AAA baseball? Do you really want to throw your top 2 prospects to go out there and get shelled at the major league level without them being ready and potentially hurt their confidence? Now, the one thing I'll say about that.
You say that all the time. What? You say if they can't, handle.
That's what I was just going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I said the one thing I will say is if they can't handle being shelled at the major league level, they're probably not cut out to make it in the majors. But listen, that's not the case for everyone. Like some guys truly do come up too early and just like never turn into the same.
It's a delicate balance.
I think it's more of a case with hitters than I think pitchers. and that's just kind of just a personal preference. I feel like hitters can really, because hitting, you're failing all the time. So when you go up and you hit 100, it's easy to just develop that sense of failure. Herschel Waldrop could struggle at the majors and come back down the next start.
Yips are much more prevalent for pitchers than hitters.
Well, he could struggle at the majors and then come back down in AAA the next start and have a lot of success, immediately. The guy that goes and struggles at the majors could start struggling again because you fail at every level more often than you have succeed in the box. So that's just kind of my tinfoil hat thinking when I think about pitchers and hitters and their confidence issues. But I do agree. I mean, if you cannot handle failure at baseball, I don't know how the hell you expect to succeed, because it's the sport that you fail in the most.
Yeah, I think that could be said for any athlete across any professional sport. But it's especially true here. We'll see what comes this time next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. I don't think it's going to be Waldrop, and I don't think it's going to be Schwellenbach. I'll say that. I don't think I have no problem with
Elder. Just had a very, very nice start for the AAA.
And that's what no one wants to hear, right? Like, no one's like, oh, yes, let's see Bryce Elder again.
He did go out there and had a hell of a game.
I am Bryce Elder country. Like, I am the Bryce Elder stand. The one that's left, I'm still on that boat. And even I'm still like.
The thing is it's a fifth starter. I saw prevalent folks in Atlanta sports radio and TV talking about, it's the same Atlanta Braves pitching stuff. I challenge you to find 5 rotations in this sport with a better number 4 than Charlie Morton. Obviously, things can change in October, but at this point in the season, what are we like? The sky is falling over the fifth starter. Had Spencer Schwellenbach got out of that 5th inning, 5 innings of 3-run ball, that is perfectly fine for a 5th starter. And Bryce Elder comes up and does something similar. Everybody's going to be like, oh, this guy, and it's because it's ugly. He gives you 5 innings of 3-run ball and it's ugly. That's why he sucks. It's absolute crap. Like, no team has 5 aces. Like, the Phillies are the closest thing with 4 guys who are absolute studs, and that's it. And that's never going to be the case for every single ball club. It's absolutely ludicrous to be sitting here in June complaining about a Spencer Schwellenbach start and projecting to October of how the rotation is in a free fall. It's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, you also have 3 top 100 prospects now, according to Baseball America, and Herschel Waldrop, Spencer Schwellenbach, and AJ Smith-Shawver kind of figuring out. And Smith-Shawver got injured, right? Like, he got injured. Like, let's say he's healthy, he's probably the guy right now in the lead. And you had a former All-Star, Bryce Elder,
outstanding 2024 debut.
And you got Ian Anderson coming back sometime in the next couple of months. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the sky is falling for this rotation.